Oprah Winfrey is in this film.
Yeah.
Did you have to buy her another Bentley to convince her to do this movie?
I did not. When she read the script, she was like, "Oh no, I really want to be a part of this," because she saw how powerful and phenomenal the story is. To honor these 855 women who had never been honored before, man, it's really powerful.
What is it like kind of working with your friends? Because sometimes they say don't work with your friends, but what is it like working with her?
Well, Oprah and I have worked together in a few capacities where she was the boss, when I was doing the Have and Have Nots and everything, and I was the boss on this. But what we understand and what she understands coming in as an actor is a good leader always knows when to follow. And what she wanted to do, and most great actors want to do, is be directed by their director. So it was great working with her on it.
One of the things that struck me was these women were so disrespected over and over. And I want to know in your own life, when there was a moment where you were disrespected, how did you kind of overcome that obstacle?
I don't sit in it. I don't, and it still goes on. It's even now, even today. It just in this industry, it is what it is. You're only as good as your next hit, no matter what your race. I don't sit in it. I get up and move on and figure out how do I navigate through it.
And talk to me about the writing process, like, because I feel like this film gave me all the feels, but what was your emotional state just writing it, getting this out?
Well, I had the opportunity to sit down with a surviving member, Lena King, and sitting with her, and she's sharp and in her right mind. And the first thing she started talking to me about was her relationship with Abram. I thought, well, that's the way in. So hearing her tell this story was really my way in and helped me lean into all the history and the research and getting this dialogue right and getting the story right.
I felt like, they had this unsurmountable obstacle in
Yeah.
getting through this mail. What was one of your last unsurmountable obstacles that you can recall?
I haven't had an unsurmountable obstacle, but I've had some pretty major obstacles. And I think the hardest of all is grief. And I'm working my way through it. Yeah.
Why was this a story that you had to tell? And how did it even come to you? And how did you even find out about it?
Nicole Avant, who is incredible, her father Clarence Avant, the Godfather documentary she did on Netflix. But when she called me and sent me the scissor reels, she said, "You got to see this." I was like, "This couldn't have happened. There could not have been 855 black women in World War II, and nobody's ever talked about them." She's like, "No, this is a true story," and I was in from the minute I saw the scissor reel.
Now I have to ask you, my friend Sherry Shepard.
I love Sherry.
You
See how I
are
smile when you say Sherry? Yeah.
my friend and former colleague on Dish Nation. Yeah. You guys have a movie coming out.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about working with Sherry? Is she a diva? And what are we going to see from that film?
The movie's called Straw. Taraji P. Henson is in the lead and Sherry's supporting. And everybody who's seen the performances are talking about Sherry, Tiana, and Taraji. The chemistry between the women and what Sherry delivered. I can't wait for people to see it. Because people have seen it and going, I recognize her. I recognize her. Recognize her. That's not Sherry Shepard. So yeah, it's been great.
What is it about female stories that you like telling?
Females are allowed to have a range of emotion that in telling the story of a man, I haven't seen a man be able to have that level of range. And all of these moments when I'm talking about female story, I'm dedicating to my mother.
We're going into 2025. I felt like this year was a lot this year.
Yeah.
Going into 2025, what are your kind of hopes and goals? What do you think about going to the next year?
I'm hopeful every year of just things getting better. I'm watching the world and where it's going.
Can they get better? Can you give me some hope?
Yeah, I just don't believe that you can continue to go down this downward spiral and not hit bottom at some point. And bottom is where you start to rise. So I'm just hoping that at some point humanity starts to rise up and realize that all we have is each other.
Do you find inspiration in those difficult times? Like, is there some kind of creative inspiration in those?
It leads me to want to make people laugh and feel good, for sure. Yeah, it leads me against instead of doing movies and shows about doing thrillers about people being betrayed and hurt or angry. I want to do the things that make people laugh and smile. So that's where my focus is going to be all year.
So are you telling me there's more Medea in 2025?
I don't know if there's more Medea in 2025, but there's a Medea movie already in the can. So we'll see what happens.
And then taking it back to this film, working with all these women together, what inspired you about them?
To realize that these women did not have the laws that we have today to help us defend ourselves against racism, and yet they held themselves with such dignity and pride and delivered the way that they did. Man, I wish I could have met all 855 of them and shook their hands.
You're giving me chills.
Yeah, I mean it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler.